Over 2,000 years ago, in 69 BCE, a baby girl was born in Alexandria, Egypt. This baby's name was Cleopatra the 7th, and she would grow up to become a queen like no other. But before she ruled, she was just a little girl with big dreams. Cleopatra was born into a royal family called the Ptolemaic dynasty. This family had ruled Egypt for many years, but they were not originally from Egypt. They came from Greece. Cleopatra's ancestor, Ptolemy I, was one of Alexander the Great's generals, and he became the king of Egypt after Alexander's death. So Cleopatra's family was both Greek and Egyptian. Cleopatra's father was King Ptolemy XII, and her mother might have been Cleopatra V, but historians are not completely sure about her mother's identity. Cleopatra grew up in a palace surrounded by luxury, with servants, beautiful clothes, and the best education. Cleopatra was also curious about everything. She studied science, math, literature, and politics. She wanted to be more than just a queen who wore a crown. She wanted to be a wise and powerful ruler. But she had another secret weapon: charm. Cleopatra was not only intelligent, she was also very confident. People said she had a beautiful voice that could capture anyone's heart. But her childhood was not all happy. Her father, King Ptolemy XII, was not a strong ruler. Many people in Egypt did not like him because they thought he was weak and spent too much money. Sometimes Cleopatra's family had to leave Egypt to stay safe. Cleopatra learned at a young age that being a ruler meant facing many enemies. When Cleopatra was around 14 years old, her life changed forever. Her mother disappeared. Some say she died, while others believe she was killed. Cleopatra's father became very sick, and soon Cleopatra would have to fight for the throne. She was still a teenager, but she was already preparing to become queen. The time Cleopatra was a young woman, she was ready to rule. But ruling Egypt would not be easy. She had enemies inside and outside her family. She knew she would have to be brave, clever, and strong. And so, the story of Cleopatra's rise to power begins. When Cleopatra was 18 years old, her father, King Ptolemy XII, passed away. In his will, he declared that Cleopatra would rule Egypt, but not alone. She had to share the throne with her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, who was only 10 years old. In ancient Egypt, it was common for siblings to rule together, even if they were very young. But Cleopatra didn't want to share her power. She believed she was more capable and smarter than her brother. At first, Cleopatra tried to work with her brother, but soon their advisors started plotting against her. The advisors did not like the idea of a strong and intelligent woman ruling Egypt. They wanted Ptolemy XIII to have all the power because he was easier to control. Cleopatra's life quickly became very dangerous. She was forced to leave the royal palace and flee to the desert. Imagine this: Cleopatra, the rightful queen, wandering in the hot, dry desert with only a few loyal followers. At this time, Egypt became involved in Rome's internal conflict. Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt while chasing his rival Pompey during a Roman civil war. Caesar wanted to secure Rome's interests and stabilize Egypt, which was an important ally. Meanwhile, Cleopatra was living in hiding, forced into exile after losing power to her brother and his advisors. During her exile, Cleopatra stayed near Egypt's eastern borders, likely in Syria, where she gathered loyal supporters. She lived away from the royal court, constantly threatened by her enemies. When she learned of Caesar's arrival in Alexandria, Cleopatra realized this was her chance. She knew that gaining Caesar's support was the only way to return to the throne. Cleopatra decided to act quickly. She knew she could not enter the palace openly because her brother's forces controlled Alexandria. Any public appearance would lead to her arrest or death. Therefore, Cleopatra planned a secret meeting with Caesar, believing that a bold and unexpected move was her only chance to change her fate. One night, Cleopatra carried out her daring plan. With the help of a loyal servant, she was hidden inside a large carpet or cloth bundle. The servant carried her into the palace as a gift for Caesar. Guards did not suspect anything, allowing Cleopatra to pass unnoticed into Caesar's private chambers. When the carpet was unrolled, Cleopatra emerged before Caesar. Her calm confidence immediately captured his attention. Instead of fear, she spoke with intelligence and grace. Cleopatra explained her exile, her struggle against her brother, and her desire to rule Egypt peacefully and wisely for the good of her people. Caesar was deeply impressed. He recognized Cleopatra as more than a displaced queen. She was intelligent, ambitious, and politically skilled. Caesar decided to support her claim to the throne, seeing both personal admiration and political advantage in helping her regain power in Egypt. Soon, conflict broke out in Alexandria. Caesar's forces and Cleopatra's supporters clashed with the army loyal to Ptolemy XIII. The fighting was intense and destructive, spreading through the city. Egypt was once again thrown into chaos as Roman power became directly involved in the struggle for the throne. During the fighting, Ptolemy XIII was defeated and later drowned while trying to escape. With her brother gone, Cleopatra regained control of Egypt. She was officially restored as queen and placed back on the throne, ending her period of exile and hiding. Cleopatra now ruled Egypt, but her position depended heavily on Roman support. She strengthened her alliance with Caesar and began rebuilding the kingdom. Their relationship soon became personal as well as political. Cleopatra and Caesar grew close, spending much time together. This bond further strengthened Cleopatra's power, but it also created suspicion and fear among Roman leaders who worried about her influence over Caesar. In 47 BCE, Cleopatra gave birth to a son named Ptolemy Caesar, known as Caesarion. She believed he was Caesar's child and saw him as a symbol of unity between Egypt and Rome. Cleopatra later traveled to Rome with Caesar. She lived there as a queen, surrounded by luxury and attention. While many admired her intelligence and presence, others viewed her as a threat. Roman politicians feared that Caesar was giving too much power to a foreign queen. In 44 BCE, Julius Caesar was assassinated by Roman senators. His death shocked the Roman world and destroyed Cleopatra's sense of security. She lost her strongest protector and realized that Rome was no longer safe for her or her son. Cleopatra quickly returned to Egypt with Caesarion. Back on her throne, she focused on strengthening her rule and protecting her son. Although Cleopatra had survived exile and war, her struggle was not over. New Roman leaders were rising, and Egypt's independence remained fragile. Cleopatra understood that another alliance would soon be necessary to protect her kingdom and her legacy. Cleopatra's legend would endure, remembered as one of history's most powerful and fascinating queens.